Hi, this is Debbie from Organic Oasis in California, Zone 9B. I have some cabbage here. It looks like I've got 3 heads of cabbage. I planted this cabbage in October 2024, and the heads should have been formed probably a month ago. And I wanted the heads to get bigger, and it wasn't heading up nicely, so I left it alone. It got aphids, cabbage aphids. I've been spraying them with peppermint oil and insecticidal soap, the handmade that I made myself with cast iron soap and water. And it's time to get rid of these cabbages, either by putting them out in our city's green waste or checking them out to see if if they're edible. I'd love to make some sauerkraut, fermented sauerkraut, and that's what I really want to do. But at some point, if there's too many aphids here, I'm just gonna have to cut my losses. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. Here's a close-up of the beautiful cabbage. But as you can see, even though I've been using insecticidal soap and peppermint oil, you can see there's still some more aphids coming back on here. It's every time I spray, you can see they go away and then they come back because there's crevices they can hide in, and you can't get the insecticidal soap won't get to all of them. So as you can see in that crevice, there's some down there. So I'm going to have Tomato Tim's help to actually cut it. I couldn't even cut through the stalk. And then we're going to tear these things apart and see if we can actually make sauerkraut out of it, or it has to go into the compost, the city's compost. Okay, here comes Tomato Tim to the rescue.
Hello. So I'll just start cutting these.
So as you can see, there are 2 cabbages in the one pot, and that is a 10-gallon pot. So now Tim's going to take off that head. And
all the way down? Or?
Yes, all the way down. Now, if this was earlier in the season, we weren't heading into hot weather, we could go ahead and...
There's the head.
Oh, wow. We could go ahead and we could cut it, and they say from some of the research I've done that you can actually grow back another baby head. But being that we're heading into the summer with the heat and the cabbage does not like it, and it is getting badly hurt by aphids and it may bolt, we're just cutting it all off. We're not going to try to grow any more cabbage. So Tomato Tim's going into this next one, and the second one that was sharing the pot with the other one, the first one he harvested, as you can see, this one is just not as big. And to be honest, I didn't plan to put 2 cabbages in each pot. It just grew, and I lost my focus, and I should have removed it, and I didn't. So as you can see, this is just a much smaller kale plant, and the head is probably going to be, there's really no head on it. So comparing these 2 cabbages, you can see they shared a pot. One of them headed up, the other one didn't. This one probably would have been bigger if it was not sharing the pot. Oh yeah, there's so many. Check this out. The aphids just got inside those crevices, and even though I was spraying, it couldn't get in there to reach them. So it was a lose-lose situation here. Even though I sprayed and thought I was doing a good job, it just really wasn't helping. So after clipping plants, especially ones that have diseases or bugs, get a cup, get some alcohol, and keep that next to where you do your pruning, and just dunk your shears in here. You don't want to spread the diseases or the bugs to your other plants as you move on to pruning other plants. So what I have here is a big Tupperware bowl, and what it's filled with is water and salt. There's a quart of water, 1 tablespoon of salt to every quart of water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut the cabbage heads. And depending on what I see on the inside, I'm going to either, like I said before, compost them, not in my compost, but in the city's compost, or I'm going to soak them in this salt water solution, because any remaining aphids or bugs in there would then die. So let's get cutting and see what's inside our cabbage heads. Here is the first cabbage head. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off this stalk. Okay, now let's go ahead and cut this. As you can see, the first thing I'll do is wash the outside of it because I do see some aphids on it. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and cut through it, right through the middle. Okay, so it looks like this is a small head, but it's nice and clean on the inside, and there's nothing in it. I'm going to dump it into my salty water. Same with this one. I'm just going to dunk it right into my salty water. So this is the cabbage head that had a lot more aphids, and you can see there's aphids on the outside. I think what I'm going to do with this is pull off a few more of the outer leaves, and then I'll come back and let's cut it in half. Okay, so here it is. The head is getting smaller. I've had to remove a lot of the outer leaves, but I'm going to rinse this. Now I'm going to cut it in half. Okay. And again, it looks great on the inside. So I'm going to soak it in my salty water. Same with this one. So I'm going to soak it. Now, as you can see, what's left here is a lot of leaves, outer leaves. Now, I can use some of these leaves if they're good to still make my sauerkraut. It's just that the outer leaves, that more on the outside they are, the more thick they're going to be, and the delicate, tender leaves are the ones that are inside the head. So it's going to take a little longer for the thicker leaves to ferment. But I'm going to go ahead, and my heads are small. I do want to make sauerkraut, so I'm going to go through these heads, these leaves. The ones that have aphids, a lot of aphids, I'm going to just toss. But there's a few in this pile from the first plant that look pretty good. Like, for instance, this leaf, it's a smaller leaf. I'm more on the inside. I don't see aphids, too many aphids on here. So I'm just going to wash this leaf, and I'm going to put it in to make some sauerkraut with it. But I'll be sorting through all these leaves, and I'll come back to you in a minute. I brought the cabbage in, and I've had it soaking in the saltwater solution, which is 1 quart of water to a tablespoon of salt. And as you can see, it looks pretty good here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shred this up and make sauerkraut out of it. So let's see how this turns out. So here is the cabbage. It has been soaking in my saltwater solution, which was a quart of water and 1 tablespoon of salt. That's supposed to help clean it up. I went ahead and brought these 2 pieces in because I thought I might actually, if I don't have enough of if my heads aren't big enough, I need 2 pounds of shredded cabbage, then I thought I could chop these up, shred these too and put them in. These leaves look pretty good. Some people will fold them up and use them to put on top of the jars. And that is supposed to, when you take and you put all your shredded cabbage in here, then you put that on top and it kind of holds it under. I actually have these ones that I bought that are from the Ball company, canning company, and I use these. So that's what I'm going to be using. But I figured if I didn't have enough cabbage, shredded cabbage, I might just shred these and put them in. I have read that you can use the outer leaves. It's just that they're not going to be as tender as these leaves inside. So here is the cabbage I have, the heads. They are small, but they look good. And I just don't know how much I'm going to end up getting. I had just two heads, and I cut them in half. I'm now going to cut them into quarters, and I'm going to shred them. The water that they were soaking in the salt water, I mean, it doesn't look, you don't see too many bugs in here, but I'm going to go ahead and pour all of the water out. Okay, so I'm just going to take my knife here, and I am going to follow the directions that I have read. I'm going to go ahead and take my knife here, and I'm going to quarter the kale. So I'm going to go ahead and quarter it like this. And you can use this to make the sauerkraut, but everyone says you should cut it out and then you should take and use it, put it through like a food processor and go ahead and make it, just chop it really fine. And then you can throw it in with your kombucha. So that's, I mean, not kombucha, sorry, it's sauerkraut. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to use my knife here and I'm just going to cut through the cabbage very as thin as I can. This is like, you want it thin like coleslaw. I don't eat coleslaw, but I'm going to cut it this way as well. I don't eat coleslaw. I've never liked it. But if you buy cabbage, shredded cabbage, you just want it like that. These bigger pieces, I want to use these because I don't think I'm going to have quite enough. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut those as well. So I'm using this book called Preserving by the Pint, Quick Seasonal Canning for Small Spaces by the author of Food in Jars, and it's Marissa McClellan. I'm using this because I don't always grow a lot of each vegetable. Like I only had three cabbages, and that only gave me, I actually, out of the 3 cabbages, I only got 2 heads of cabbage. So a lot of the recipes, they're for farmers and people that are producing lots of one type of vegetable. And so I have to scale down the recipe. This is nice because this recipe is just for 1 quart. And it only calls for 1 small green cabbage, about 2 pounds. So it's perfect for me, and you might want to check that out if you grow in small batches. I'm using, I have 2 of these 1 quart jars. So if it turns out I have 4 pounds, I'll do 2 jars. If I only have 2 pounds, I'll do 1 jar. So this is a perfect little cookbook. And basically the ingredients is just 1 small cabbage, about 2 pounds, with a tablespoon of milled sea salt, and then optional 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds. Super simple. Okay. I'm actually going to go back to and also pick out some of the bigger white pieces. I think from everything I've read about making sauerkraut, you can use them, but you want these smaller because I think they take longer to ferment. So to get a better product, everything should be kind of the same size. I think the purple, like the actual leaves, are very tender, and then this is like very thick. So I need to chop these smaller. So I'll probably run that through my food processor. Okay. So I don't even have 2 pounds here. This is actually only like 1.5 pounds. So I am going to go ahead and run all these through my food processor and then add these parts as well. I chopped up the core, and now I'm going to put it all inside here. As you can see, it's super small now. These pieces are really small. So they should ferment at the same time as the bigger leaves. Okay. Getting as much out as I can. So even though this is just 1.5 pounds, the recipe calls for 2 pounds with a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to go ahead and put in, this is a heaping teaspoon. So I'm going to put in 1.5 heaping, this is 1.5 heaping teaspoons. And then I will put in another 1.5 heaping teaspoons. That's about a tablespoon, but I don't quite need it that much because I don't have 2 pounds of kale. But I don't want to skimp on the salt, since that's the whole ingredient that helps cause or create the fermentation. So now you can go ahead and you can use your hands to massage it. I happen to have this tool. If they have these sauerkraut tools, especially for crushing the sauerkraut, and it looks like the tool, I only saw a picture of it. I don't have one, but it looks like the tool is just like this, just bigger. And this I have for making cocktails, but it looks like the same tool is just smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and start using this and see if this works. To me, it looks like it does. It's going to take me probably a little bit longer. So instead of 3 to 4 minutes, I'm thinking it might take me 10 to 15 minutes. The instructions say to do this, you're going to be doing massaging with your hands or using a tool. A lot of the recipes, people use potato mashers, the back of spoons, the back of ladles, all sorts of things if you don't have the sauerkraut tool. But the point of what you're trying to do, the purpose of what we're doing is we're trying to get the liquid, the brine, out of the cabbage. So we're trying to crush the cabbage, to mix it with the salt. The cabbage should reduce in size, soften, and release its liquid. And in some recipes, all you do is you're using the liquid from the cabbage to actually, make the brine. Other recipes, they do shortcuts, and what they do is you do make a salt water brine that you pour in on top of the cabbage. I think this is the traditional way to do it, and so I want to follow the traditional way. Again, people just use their hands and they do a lot of mushing and massaging, and I do feel a lot of liquid coming out as I'm doing this. I suppose if you make a lot of sauerkraut or kimchi, you would want the tool. I think for me, it's actually easier to use my little tool, so I'm going to go back to using my tool. I also have a potato masher. I'm going to try my potato masher and see. No, the potato masher to me does not work as well as my little tool. I can feel this when I press down. I can actually feel it crushing the cabbage. You can hear it, right? So it's doing a better job of getting the cabbage to secrete its brine or release its brine. I've been crushing the cabbage for almost 10 minutes now. I put my timer on for 15 minutes. And the recipe says to crush until it's reduced by half, which I think it is. But there's also supposed to be enough liquid to cover the cabbage once you put it in the bowl. So I think I'm going to stop. I'm going to go ahead and start putting it in the jar. Let's see how much liquid's in here. And I can also keep crushing it once it's in the jar. 2 pounds is supposed to completely fill this. And since I have less than 2 pounds, this should fit really perfectly in this 1 quart jar. I have not done a lot of fermentation, but I really want to learn how. Fermenting, we drink a lot of kombucha, so I want to learn how to make kombucha. Tomato Tim and I do a lot of pickled carrots, pickled cucumbers. I love fermented foods. I just haven't experimented a lot. Like I said, I have the cookbooks and I've got the desire to do it. It's just finding the time. So I'm just going to keep packing this down. It says to pack it down. So I can actually remove this and just keep pressing like this. So I'm just going to keep doing this. I'll be adding more of the cabbage and crushing it, and I'll come back in a few minutes. When you are fermenting any vegetable, you have to have your brine come above the vegetable. So the liquid has to come above and submerge the vegetable. And in this recipe, it says to continue to mash the cabbage until it secretes enough liquid and it makes its own brine. It's one of the only vegetables that actually can create its own brine. Many of the vegetables, like when I fermented tomatoes, you make your own brine and you pour it in. But in cabbage, it can make its own brine. Now, I have been mashing this. I mashed this for almost 15 minutes. It didn't seem to be producing enough brine. So in this cookbook that I have, that's called The Farmhouse Culture Guide to Fermenting, it actually has a recipe. It says simply dissolve 2 grams of salt into 98 milliliters of filtered water. And then you can use that brine. Again, I'll say it one more time. 2 grams of salt to 98 milliliters of filtered water. And then you can use that brine to top up your cabbage when you're making your sauerkraut if it doesn't produce enough liquid to cover the cabbage. And also during your time of actually fermenting it, sometimes there's so much pressure in it that it starts to seep out the liquid, and you have to watch it carefully and make sure that the cabbage stays submerged under the liquid. So if necessary, you could make the brine and top it up if too much of the liquid bubbles out when it's in the fermenting stage. So I went ahead and mixed my little solution just in case. And I put in, this was 3.31 ounces of water with the 2 grams of salt. And this is how much it made. And I was concerned that I may not have enough liquid, but as this has been sitting, it's made just enough to cover it. So I'm happy about that. So I'm not going to add any homemade brine right now, any extra brine, but I will keep this in case I need it in the next few days. So let me show you what we do next. So here we have the cabbage. And as you can see, it does now have liquid, and the liquid is covering, barely covering, but it is definitely covering the cabbage. But I need to push it down, and I need to make sure that it stays covered. So what they recommend doing, I do have this that I can use, and I do like using this, but I am going to use that. But this is one of their recommended ideas. You take a cabbage leaf, so I'm going to use the cabbage leaf that I brought in. You fold it up, and you push it down inside here like this. And that really makes a nice, it just floats on top there and really keeps it, all the little pieces submerged. Now I will put this in. This is my ball fermenter. It's really awesome. I love it. And I just bought it on Amazon. It comes with a cap with a vent. So now you put this on, you push it down. It might be a little tricky. It's a little hard to turn it once you get it down, but you close it tight. And now check this out. The cabbage is nice and snug under the solution, under the brine, its own made brine. And this leaf is keeping it submerged. And then the metal actually helps a lot to push it down. So I just put mine into my kitchen pantry here where I keep all my spices. And I keep this closed all the time so it stays dark. This is really a good way to see how the liquid is above it and it's fermenting nicely. I can keep my eye on it and it will stay dark as I close this. And it's in my room temperature kitchen, which is about, it never goes over 70 degrees in here. So we'll come back in a few days and we'll check it out. Here is my sauerkraut, day 2. As you can see, there are little bubbles just starting to form on the top. This is nice and submerged, still submerged. I don't have to worry about any pieces floating up to the top. But you can see how it is starting to ferment. Super exciting. Not enough where anything's coming out of the top here. Here is the lid that at some point it can bubble out of the top, but this is not the case right now. Hey, I'm back. It's been 2 weeks since I fermented my homegrown organic cabbage. It has been sitting up in my cabinet, which I keep the door closed so it's dark. And my kitchen is relatively, cool. We're in California, so we have like today's 80 degrees outside, but the kitchen's at about 70. That's the average is the kitchen stays about 70, maybe 72. So this has been in my dark cabinet sitting here, and it said to taste it now and again. And if you like the taste, you can just say it's done and put it in the refrigerator. I tasted it a couple times. It tasted good, but I wanted to see how it was at 2 weeks, which is what they recommend. So here it is. As you can see, again, this recipe, remember, is just the cabbage cut up, and then you massage it with just salt, and it ferments. And this is its own juice that it's sitting in. And the juice is supposed to be really healthy, and it's supposed to have all sorts of, different bacterias. It's sort of like drinking kombucha, or any of the fermented vegetables has the health benefits to it, and probiotics and prebiotics and all these good things. So this is my first time fermenting cabbage and making sauerkraut. So I'm excited to try it. Let me focus. I'm going to put the camera right on this while I open it so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here it is. And I'm just going to take this cap off. It's just in a quart wide mouth jar, and I'm using the ball lid for fermenting. It smells really good. I am taking this out, and now you can just see how this looks. One of the recipes I had on fermenting said if it has any like gross stuff on the top to go ahead and remove it, but this doesn't have anything. They called it scum. If you had scum on the top, remove it. And I did not have any scum. Now, this is the cabbage leaf that I put in, but I don't think I'm going to keep this. This was just used to hold down the cabbage, to help hold down the cabbage in the jar so it didn't float to the top. So here we go. And so here's what, as I dig down, this is very packed, but there's a lot of juice in here too. So I'm going to kind of, there you go. You can see it now. Let me zoom in here. So you see the cabbage and how it looks. It's all shredded. And then there's juice. And I was reading, you know, I'm not an expert on fermented vegetables, but I was reading that if you just take a teaspoon of this juice every day, it's just so healthy for you. So we're going to drink the juice. So I am going to taste this, and let's see what we got here. So I'm going to take just a little bit of the juice. The juice is really sour and tart, but it's very good. A little different. I've had sauerkraut before, but basically only like, I don't eat a lot of sauerkraut. Let's just put it that way. And I never bought sauerkraut. But if you go get a really good hot dog, you know, you can get it with sauerkraut. And so that's how I know sauerkraut is, by eating really good beef hot dogs with the sauerkraut in them and mustard. So that's how I like hot dogs. And so basically, but I've only had them in like restaurants. So this is my first time making sauerkraut. So let me taste this. It is tart. It is salty. It is super crunchy. It tastes fresh. It's really good. I don't have a lot of it here. And I told Tomato Tim that we're basically going to have it one day. I'm going to grill some 100% beef hot dogs, and have sauerkraut hot dogs. And then we're going to probably make some Reuben sandwiches and some things like that, just to enjoy this sauerkraut. And we'll probably throw it in salads and sandwiches and things like that. And then on days that we're not cooking with it or eating it, well, we'll just eat a teaspoon for the health benefits. I'm really excited the way this turned out. It's absolutely beautiful and tastes delicious. And this was made from basically two small heads of cabbage. My cabbages did not grow very big. I got 2 small heads, maybe 2.5. And this is how I used it. So, and this can last, up to like a year in the refrigerator. So it's not like we have to eat this up, but we'll probably eat this, you know, every day until it's gone. So this probably won't last more than a few months. But try this recipe and comment. Let me know if you make sauerkraut, if you've made it in the past, how you cook with it, and any ideas like that. I'd really love to hear your comments. And if you like these type of videos, which is growing organic vegetables, and then what do you do with it after you grow them? You've got a beautiful garden with pounds and pounds of things. Now what, right? So you want to cook with them. You want easy meals. You want to try fermenting, dehydrating, recipes where you can use them up, and you know that they're organic and nutritious for you and your family. So come along on Tomato Tim and my journey, and we'll keep posting, and hopefully you'll keep watching. Thank you so much.